Sometimes the future doesn't arrive with a gentle announcement. Sometimes it hits like a shockwave. Today, we're jumping back to 2026, the year the electric car stopped being just an option and became an economic necessity for millions of people, almost overnight. So let's get into it.
Seriously, just take a second and think about that. What if you woke up tomorrow and the cost to fill up your car, to get to work, to live your life was suddenly a third more expensive? What would you do?
Well, for pretty much everyone around the globe, that scary thought became a reality. In March of 2026, a single event sent tremors through the entire global economy. And the very epicenter of that quake? Yeah, it was the gas pump. In Italy, they had a name for it, the Grande Scossa, the big shock. And it really was. It wasn't just one single thing, but a perfect storm of events that hit consumers right where it hurts most. The wallet. And man, did it happen fast. Blink and you'd miss it. It kicked off with new tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, that critical choke point for the world's oil supply. That set off an immediate price shock, and by the end of that single month, our entire relationship with our cars had been turned completely upside down.
All across Europe, this one number, €1.90 per liter, became this huge psychological barrier. It wasn't just a pain anymore. This was the point where running a regular gas car started to feel totally unsustainable for a lot of families.
And this wasn't just happening in Europe. Oh no. Over in the United States, prices blew past the $4 a gallon mark. We're talking a jump of more than 33% in a month. For a country that is literally built around driving, this was a massive, massive economic blow. Okay, so this is where the story gets really, really interesting. This pain at the pump kicked off a global rush to electric. But here's the thing, not everybody reacted the same way. Each part of the world had its own unique response. The reaction was just immediate. In major European markets and clear on the other side of the world in Australia, sales of battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, just exploded. We're talking a 50% plus jump in sales. In a single month. That's not a trend, folks. That is a stampede. But the picture looked totally different elsewhere. In the US, where big cars and trucks are king, the first move was a 20% spike in people just searching online for EVs. But in India, the revolution happened on 2 and 3 wheels. Over 139,000 electric scooters and rickshaws were sold in March alone. And for delivery drivers, switching meant their running costs fell by 10 times. That's not just a game changer, that's life-changing.
So you see what's happening? You've got the same crisis, but all these different reactions. Americans, scared by the pump prices, started eyeing electric SUVs. In India, it was all about saving money today, so scooters took off. And in Europe and Australia, the crisis just poured gasoline on a fire that was already burning. But the end result was the same everywhere. The EV changed overnight from a rich person's car into a saver's car.
So you have to ask, why 2026? Why didn't this happen during other oil crises? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. For the very first time, the market was ready. The right cars were finally available at exactly the right time. See, before 2026, an EV was either this little niche city car or a super expensive luxury vehicle. There wasn't much in between. But by the time this fuel crisis hit, things had changed. EVs were finally going toe-to-toe on price. And, this is the big one, they came in sizes that actually worked for families. And let's talk about the actual heroes of this story. You had the Tesla Model Y Lal, a new 6-seater version that finally solved that but my family won't fit problem. And then you had cars like the MG4 Urban and the GAC Aion UT, which just smashed through the price barrier, making EVs as affordable as a regular gas-powered car. But here's the biggest surprise of 2026, the real plot twist. It wasn't happening in the shiny new car showrooms. It was the absolute explosion of the secondhand EV market. This is where the really smart money was going. This number is it's wild. In Europe, online searches for used EVs tripled. Not a 30% jump, they tripled. People needed a solution to these crazy gas prices, and they needed it right now, not 6 months from now. And when you look at it, the logic was just undeniable. First off, you could get a used EV immediately. No waiting lists. Second, it was the perfect answer for a second family car just for the daily commute, instantly slashing your travel costs. And in the US, used models that hit that $25,000 sweet spot, they became the hottest thing on the market.
So, when you put all of these pieces of the puzzle together, the shock at the pump, the right new models being there, the boom in the used market, it all points to one single powerful conclusion. The main reason people bought an EV had fundamentally changed. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. At the peak of the crisis, filling up a tank of gas cost almost 8 times more than charging an EV at home overnight. I mean, when the difference is that stark, the choice becomes incredibly simple. It's not about your beliefs anymore, it's just about the math. This quote right here just nails the entire shift of 2026. The electric car went from being a favor to the environment to being a life jacket for the wallet. It was about economic survival in a world of crazy, unpredictable fuel prices. So here's the big takeaway. 2026 was the year the motivation to go electric finally tipped. It stopped being mainly about saving the planet and started being about saving your own money. The fuel crisis was the trigger, for sure, but it was that new wave of affordable and practical EVs that made the whole revolution possible. Which leaves us with one last thing to chew on. The big shock of 2026 was oil. What do you think is going to trigger the next massive global shift in how we all live and get around? Thanks so much for digging into this with me. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe, because we've got plenty more deep dives into the events and ideas that are shaping our world.